Hello and welcome to my Two Cents with Igwe Henry podcast. Soon we are definitely going to be the biggest podcast in Nigeria and across Africa and the world, most definitely. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the internalized racism and gatekeeping tendencies of Lady Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK. That's what we're talking about today. And it's very important that I say this. I have a caveat to everything I would love to say today. And the caveat is that I do not in any way or form desire to cast aspersion on the position of the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK, or the person of Kemi Badenoch. That is not the interest of what we have to say today on this podcast. But what we want to say today is regarding how gatekeeping tendencies, especially with regards to immigration and immigrants coming to the UK. As lots of you must have seen and must have heard, that she is really very strict about immigration into the UK and making it look like she's a saint, but of course she is not. It's unfortunate that Kemi Badenoch had equally forgotten that her parents equally took advantage of what she is trying to strangle right about now in 2025. In 1980, the parents, the Adegoke's, took advantage, abused the system that had gotten her the UK citizenship that she has right now, that she is using against other immigrants coming to the UK. But just before we get into that, I would love us to play a little video, an excerpt of a video she granted some times back, and what she has to say. And from there, we'll come back and do some more talking. So let's have it.
They're abusing the laws that we have. We have people pretending, for instance, to be homosexual so that they can claim asylum, and then they go on to get married and have children. We have people who go through false conversions. They come to the parish priest, they're very excited. Oh, these Muslims want to convert to Christianity. They convert so that they can claim asylum and say, if I went back to my country, I'd be persecuted. This is exploitation of a system that was not designed for this sort of thing. We need to stop being naive. And that's why under my leadership, we now have policies to make it a lot harder to just get British citizenship. It's been too easy. It's basically a conveyor belt. We want people who have who want to come to our country to be net contributors, not people who will immigrate and then need welfare, need social housing. That's not right, because they haven't paid into the system. So there is a lot that I'm changing on policy that is suitable for the times we live in. We could get away with these things before the era of mass travel, before mobile phones, before small boat crossings. There's just the global mass migration, which we're seeing, that's very destabilizing. They didn't have that in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s. We need rules that work for today.
So, Kemi Badenoch clearly said in that video that immigrants were exploiting the opportunity for UK citizenship, and they were exploiting that opportunity to gain entrance into the UK and become citizens. That some LGBTQ people would come in and say they are being prosecuted in their country, and when they come here, all they do is to get children, and their children become citizens, and so on and so forth. And that some Catholic priest would see some Muslims and say, hey, these Muslims want to convert. And when they do convert, they stay here and they become citizens of the UK. And that the UK citizenship is so easy, and her government, under her leadership, would make it even more stringent and difficult for people to gain citizenship in the UK. Very so funny, so funny. It's quite funny because this lady has so forgotten where she's coming from. Her name is Kemi Badenoch before she met Hamish and got married to him and had the name Badenoch. She's so forgotten. You know, sometimes when we lose our sense of history, we think none of those things existed before we came in. But it's very important that this is the digital age and everything is on our palms. Every information you need, ladies and gentlemen, is right there with you. It's right there in your phone. And if you want it, you can always access it anytime you want. Now, in case Kemi Badenoch had forgotten, her parents, the Adegokes, brought Feyi, her mother, that's the father, brought Feyi, the mother, to the UK in 1980. And that was when she was given birth to. And the reason she was given birth to was because, I love to believe, the parents equally abused the system. Because at that time, the UK operated what we call in legal maxim, jus soli, that is the right of the soil. When you give birth to someone in a country that operates jus soli, it means that that child, irrespective of whatever legal rights the parents have, automatically the child becomes a citizen of that country. Jus soli is what they call it. The parents took advantage of that, because the question is, why didn't the parents, the Adegokes, why weren't they in the UK all this while? Why was it that it was in 1980 that they traveled to the UK and they gave birth to her? Because they abused the system. Now, just before we explain how that the parents of Kemi Badenoch abused the system, let us go back to history and see some of these things, because it's very so important. Now, before January 1st, that is, of 1983, anyone, like I said before, born in the UK automatically became a British citizen regardless of their parents' immigration status. This was called, like I said, jus soli. But after the British Nationality Act of 1981, effective from January 1st, 1983, the UK ended unrestricted jus soli. Now, a child born in the UK only became a British citizen if at least one parent is a British citizen or legally settled in the UK at the time of birth. Right? So, if you read this, or if you imagine this very well, you would discover there's a thin line there. The parents of Kemi Badenoch, Kemi Adegoke, before she became Badenoch, arrived in the UK in 1980 for the main purpose of giving birth to her there. And the reason they came there was to utilize jus soli so that Kemi would be a citizen of the UK. That happened in 1980. But after the British Nationality Act of 1981, which took effect in 1983, all of those opportunities were cancelled. So, which means that the parents of Kemi Badenoch knew that they had to take advantage of that opportunity, which means that they abused the system. Now, to prove to you that the parents of Kemi Badenoch abused the system, I'd love you to read further or listen to me as I read. Now, the question is, why was it changed? Why was jus soli changed? That is the right for a child to have citizenship because he or she was born in the country. It was changed because there were concerns over immigration abuse. Some believed that foreign nationals, like the parents of Kemi Adegoke, were entering the UK to give birth just to secure citizenship for their children, like Kemi Badenoch had the opportunity of having the citizenship in the UK. Now shift towards to a more conditional citizenship model aligning with jus sanguinis, which is the right of blood. Now, if you see this very well, you would of course understand with me that the parents of Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party, abused the system. They were one or amongst the reasons why the jus soli was cancelled in 1983. So she slightly missed the bullet. If Kemi Badenoch was born in 1984, I am very sure she would not have been a UK citizen. And if she wasn't a UK citizen, she won't be there speaking like she is the most important UK citizen of all time. So you can see what we're doing to ourselves. You took advantage, your parents took advantage, abused the system, got you to the UK, had you there, you became a citizen of the UK, and 45 years later, you're coming to claim and behave like you are oblivious, or you are not part of the system, or your parents weren't part of those that destroyed the system that gave rise to jus sanguinis, that is the right of blood. You can see how hypocritical we have become. And that is why I talked about the gatekeeping tendencies of Kemi Badenoch. The gatekeeping tendencies. And gatekeeping means when a member of a marginalized group upholds the status quo to maintain personal gains or acceptance. And that is what Kemi is basically doing. All of these things you see her do is clearly trying to maintain the status quo so she can be accepted by the society that she finds herself. And that is what we're talking about. And it's very important that we remind Kemi Badenoch that she is not the first leader in the UK. In 1980, when she was born, it was Margaret Thatcher that was the prime minister, with the same conservative party that she is representing now. If Margaret Thatcher, when she assumed office in May of 1979, had allowed this British Nationality Act in 1979, Kemi Badenoch would not have been a UK citizen. Sacrosanct. She would never have been a UK citizen. If James Callaghan, the opposition leader with the Labour, spoke like she had been speaking against immigrants in the UK in 1980 or 1979, I am very sure Kemi Badenoch would not have been a UK citizen today. Then the question is, why is Kemi all feeling like she is the most important thing in the UK? Your parents abused the system, which ended Joe Solly. And now in 2025, 45 years later, you're making us feel like you were naturally a UK citizen by blood. That is not it. The opportunity you have, Kemi Badenoch, is Joe Solly, right to soil. Because if UK had taken care of that particular act, you would not have been a UK citizen, because you are not UK by blood. That is a fact. So don't make us feel like you are the most precious thing that ever happened. And that is what we keep talking about. People allow other people to climb the ladder to the top. And when they get to the top, rather than see how it can be better for everyone, they pull the ladder up so that other people will not take advantage of it. And that can only come from people from our type of nationality, Africans. Rishi Sunak was there. He didn't act this way. He never came to say, hey, Indians, this is what you do. Indians, this is. Rishi Sunak never denied his nationality. He was Indian true and true. He only pledged allegiance to the UK because he was born there. But who is Kemi Badenoch doing? She's renegating her citizenship, renegating her ancestry, and making it look like she is UK by Joe Sanguinis. You are not a UK citizen, Joe Sanguinis, Kemi Badenoch. You are a UK citizen, Joe Solly, right to the soil. And if this act, the British Act, Nationality Act, was amended before you were born, you would never have been a UK citizen. So the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is when you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. Don't throw stones, Lady Kemi Badenoch. Don't throw stones. What goes around, my sister, comes around. You might be opportune right now, but you do not know the future. You do not know if there's something else that might come on board that might put you at a disadvantage. Your parents saw the light, they saw the future, and quickly, sharp, they entered plane and came to the UK and gave birth to you. Then the question is, why didn't they stay back in the UK? When they gave birth to you, they came back to Nigeria, which means they abused the system, which crashed the Joe Solly everyone enjoyed in 1983. They rushed like every other person, took advantage of the opportunity, abused the system. The same system that you're saying that lots of people are abusing. You're saying you want to make it difficult for people to be UK citizens. You want to make it harder for them. If Margaret Thatcher made it harder for you, your parents, Feyi, your mother, would not have given birth to you in the UK. If James Callaghan had made it harder for immigrants, your mother, Feyi, would not have given birth to you in the UK. So why would you now make it harder for other people? I do not say that every country has the right to restrict what they have to do, but you do not come to make it look like, come on, we all know what we're talking about. This is my 2 cents for today. My name is Henry Ikwebike. Like I said before, I do not in any way, it's not in my intention to cast aspersion or to debase the person or the status of the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. It is not in my intention on this podcast. I'm speaking to facts. I'm speaking to the way things should be said, the way it should be done. That is, when you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. When someone has helped you up, do not use the same system that helped you up to disenfranchise other people from being helped. That is my 2 cents for today. My name is Henry Gwike. I'll see you next time on another one. Have yourself a splendid day. Bye-bye.